Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I had to cut out some moon phases for a couple custom orders that I had, and I have been getting questions and comments recently again on how to use my scan and cut. So first off, it is the CM650W. It is an older model. It does not have like auto sensors or any of that fancy schmancy stuff that the new ones have, but it works great. I don't have any issues with it. Honestly, I've been using the same blade since I got it because I just want to ensure that I am, getting as much out of it as I possibly can before I switch blades. And I just keep upping the pressure and I don't have any issues. It makes nice, smooth cuts. It doesn't drag on the cork. And yeah, I just don't have any issues. But besides that, yes, this is just a real quick video of how I manipulate an image on my computer and then transfer it to the scan and cut to be cut on the machine. I don't cover a lot of the super detailed stuff. This is just how I do it. I am not a pro. I do not use my scan and cut nearly as often as tons of other crafters out there do. But when it comes to cork, when I had a fresh blade, I started out, I think it was about 5 for the blade depth. And on mine, it swivels. I don't know how it is on the new ones, but my blade depth, I want to say that I started between a 4 and a 5. So you just need to try that out. I am up to 9 on my pressure. However, if you were to do that now off the gate with a brand new blade, you would cut right through your cutting mat. I did that to one of mine. So I speak from experience, but so start low and then apply more pressure with your blade depth if you need to. I always cut backing side down on the mat. I know a lot of people cut cork side down, so that is up to you, but that's something to keep in mind because when I'm cutting backing side down, that means the cut is going to be the right way. Whereas if it's cork side down, you need to mirror your image if it is directional. So something else to consider. Other than that, you'll see in the video, I use basting spray because my mat is just tortured with all of the cuts and all the work that it's done. And yeah, I think that's really about it. So let me know if there's anything else that you want to know. I am planning on uploading a quick video of how I do reverse applique. Again, I've done a video on that before, but I'll just do a little bit more in-depth video and give the tips and tricks that I've picked up along the way. So that'll be coming down the pipeline soon. But yeah, so leave me a comment. Let me know if there are any other questions that you have about the scan and cut. And if I know the answers, I will make a video and tell you. So don't forget to like, subscribe, thumbs up, all that cool stuff. Thanks, guys. So once you go to CanvasWorkspace.brother.com, you get signed in. This is the home screen. This is what you're going to see. And I'm going to click on new. And what this is going to do is it's automatically going to load up a 12 by 12 mat versus the 12 by 24. So it'll automatically load and it'll be blank. And now over here on the left-hand side, you can see where the options are for creating an image on your cutting mat. My projects up here is going to be projects that you have previously created, manipulated, saved, things like that. And then of course they have all the basic and text fonts, stuff like that. For the purposes of this demonstration, I am going to load an image that I already have saved, that I've created and saved. But if you wanted to, you could get a picture off of the internet and you can save it and you can load it into your space. I do have a couple of other scan and cut videos and they go over how to do that. But for this project here, I'm going to open up my projects and you can see these are all the projects that I have previously loaded into my machine via the website or that I have created in my on the website and saved. So I'm looking for specifically the moon phases that I do. And you can see my internet's kind of slowing down right now. Now I do have the moon phases saved in my machine also, which is another way, if you use something a lot, an image all the time, I would suggest just saving it in your machine. All right, it's not that one. I've got a ton of designs in here, as you can see. Okay, so moon phase paradigm. Now you can see it just popped up here on my screen. Move you a little bit closer so that you can see. Oh, of course it stopped recording, so here we are back at here. So you can see it popped up on my screen, and now I have it saved exactly where I want it to cut when I am using the machine to cut it out on the actual cork. And you can see, so this green dot here, that is its center point, and because, or not because, but anyway, so I have this green point centered on how wide my piece is going to be. So in this case, it's 10 inches wide. So I have this green dot lined up on my 5-inch line here. I think you can see it there. And then I also just visually, zoom in just a little bit. Whoa, okay. So when your computer just takes forever to load and then it catches up. Okay, so here you can see there's my 10-inch line, my 0 line, and then you can see also there's this bleed line. Now this bleed line is really important because when you are loading your textile onto the cutting mat and loading it into the machine, it's never going to cut above or around that bleed line. So that's just something that you always need to consider whenever you're laying out your piece. On a lot of my pieces, I'll put the cut image at least 1 inch in and 1 inch down, or I'll format it to be 1 inch in and 1 inch down. I'll show you on here. So obviously this mat has just been used a billion times. Sorry for that horrendous noise. But so what I would do is position my cork 1 inch in on this side of the mat and then 1 inch down. And so that way I know exactly where my image on the computer is going to be cut. Because sometimes, I don't know, the bleed line, it tricks me sometimes. And so I just find that it's easier to lay some of my pieces out 1 inch in, 1 inch down, if it's not very obvious like this image. So for this image, I don't have a problem with laying my piece like so at the 0 line on both the vertical and horizontal line, because I know exactly where it is in the center here. So sorry, I hope that wasn't confusing, but there we go. So anyways, if you want to resize your image, so right now you can see when I click on any of the lines, it creates a box around the entire image. Now, if you need to individually manipulate your pieces, you can group and ungroup them. So to group and ungroup, you'll click on it. So you'll highlight the image and you'll double click. In my case, I double click on my pad. Now this is a MacBook. So if you have a Windows computer, you're probably going to right click. But so you double click if Mac or right click. And because it's already grouped, I would need to choose to ungroup. Now, another shortcut is you can just press G and that'll group and ungroup the elements. So you can see here that now this is how they are individually grouped, because I created one set of the crescents and then I flipped it. I copied and pasted and flipped it to create this side. And then obviously that's just a regular circle. So because I have everything sized exactly how I want it, I want to keep it in a group. So that way, if I do maneuver this anywhere around the screen, it's all moving together and the proportions between the elements are not being moved. Now, what I just did, if you grab your elements on accident and move them, and say you spent so much time lining everything up exactly where you needed it before, so you accidentally move it like that, you can revert. So you can press this back arrow here, up here. So it's this back arrow and it'll move your image back, or you can press Command Z on a MacBook. So Command Z is the backup command. I like to use keyboard shortcuts. I just find that they're easier and I know them, and so I'm used to them. But yeah, if you forget the Command Z backup command, you can just use your arrows. Another thing that you can do within this program, so we'll go to a new one. So I'm going to open up a new canvas. So we have a blank canvas here. And now if you choose these little dots, the three, it's the line with dots. It's right next to the arrow and it's right next to the pencil, the line drawing pencil. And if you hover over it, it's called path. So now if you click on that, you can draw what you want. And so if you click one, it's going to create this blue dot here. Now, if you move your mouse, you're going to see that there is now a blue line connected to that dot. If you click again, it's going to lay down a second dot and automatically create a line there for you. And that would be your cut line. So you can draw figures, not figures, but you can draw shapes. You can basically draw whatever you want using this feature. And so say you want to cut out a triangle. So you click, pull up towards top right, click. Now, once you reconnect, once you meet back at that first dot, what's going to happen is it's going to become its own element. Once you complete the lines, it'll become its own thing. So now that element can be moved anywhere and placed. It can be copied and pasted. It can be flipped. It can be flipped horizontally or vertically. You can do whatever you want once you have your image drawn. So let's say you draw something and you notice, so you see over here, the bottom right corner, it's higher than this bottom left corner. Now, say that we just drew our image, but we want to fix that. We want that line to be straight along the bottom. What you do is hover to where you're over one of the drawn lines and then double click it. When you double click it, you're going to see the lines, one of the lines highlights blue. You can see this control box pops up over here, and this menu here is showing you how to add different points on your line. So I am not a digital artist, a graphic artist. I have just picked this stuff up through trial and error and through playing with these programs. So please do not quote me if I don't make a ton of sense or if it's a little confusing. You might just need to do a deeper dive into this. This is just how I do this. So say you want to straighten out this bottom line here. Click around. You'll see if you click the different dots, you'll notice that the lines highlight different circles. Or you see this circle has a bright blue highlight. This one does not. This one has a bright blue highlight if you click. So just click around. But okay, so we need to move this point here, this bottom right point, we need to make it straight so that this triangle bottom is straight. So what you do is you're going to click on that point and grab it and see, once you grab it, you can move this point all around to however you want to change it. So let's say I want to go like, let's make it more obvious. So now I just made my triangle bigger. You can also highlight this point up here. You can move that one. And so when you highlight them like that, it's not going to change the actual line shape. It's just going to move this top juncture point. So there we go. That's how you can manipulate a shape that you've already drawn. So before moving on and finishing the project, the moon phases, cutting that out, I wanted to show you, excuse me, I would talk a little bit about this menu. So when you click on your image that you created and it pulls up this menu here, it gives you this drop down menu that is straight or curve. Now that is referring to the lines, these lines that you're drawing. So obviously these are straight, but you can also draw curves. Before we move on, so these buttons here, so this button here is just what it calls symmetrical handles. So that's the dots, the dots being the handles. That's, yeah, we're not messing with that. So the little button next to that one has a plus sign, And if you click that, it's going to add another dot into whatever line you have highlighted, which will give you another point to manipulate, maneuver around if you want to change this image. Next to the plus is a subtraction, which that does the opposite. So it's going to take away a line or a dot, which creates one less area for you to move and manipulate. And then this over here, this final one, this is the open closed outline. So when you click on that, you can see it erases that line, but it still keeps the shape of the original drawing here, in turn opening the outline, and then you can close it back to complete it. So if we wanted to add a dot, say we wanted to take this triangle and turn it into a diamond or a polygon. Hey, thanks, 7th grade coming in with my shapes there. So I just clicked that plus sign and it added a point right here in the center. So that gave me another point that I can manipulate. So you can just grab it and pull it down to create a different shape. So I'm gonna highlight it again. And so you can see this bottom left line is highlighted. And when I click the subtraction, it took away that point, creating this triangle that you see now. So if you want to change your shape by adding to it, you're going to click on the plus symbol and it's going to add you a new line. Sorry, that English was bad. It's going to add another dot for you in the middle of whatever line is highlighted. And it's going to put it right on the midpoint too, so you don't even have to guess. And then if you want to take away a dot, a point, you would highlight that section and press the subtraction button. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to cut the moon phases that we were playing with earlier. I want to cut that out on my cork here. And so I'm just going to, I press the far left button. It's the little grid with a plus sign, and that will bring you to a blank cutting mat. And I'm going to click on my projects because those are the projects that I have saved onto my computer. And I'm going to find those moon phases again. Here they are. Okay, here we go. So now if you need to resize this image, so I put moon phases on various pieces that I make, everything from a wallet up to a big bag. So sometimes I want to keep my ratio of my elements, but I need them to be bigger for certain bags and then I need them to be smaller. So if everything is grouped, you can click on a corner. So you can see when you go to a corner, I'm not sure if you can see it, but when you click on a corner or when you hover over a corner, zoom in here. When you hover over a corner, you see the arrow, the cursor point turns into an arrow. And that is just signaling that you are on that corner and that you can maneuver it and manipulate it. And that is how you will resize. So you can just grab it and pull, and you can see it keeps everything in the proper perspective. It just changes the size for you. So that is how I resize, but keep all of my moon phases looking symmetrical between my different size pieces. All right, so we have the moon phases here. This is how I want it. So what I'm going to do to get it from my laptop over here to my cutting machine, I'm going to press download. And previous to doing this, you need to set up your Scan and Cut to be on your Wi-Fi so that your laptop can talk to your Scan and Cut. So I've already done that. But so because I've done that, I can transfer directly from my laptop to my Scan and Cut. But I want to make sure that my Scan and Cut is turned on. So I've got my Scan and Cut over here. It's plugged in. And so I'm going to turn it on by pressing the power button. This is the 650W. It's the CM650W. This is an older Scan and Cut. And yeah, I know that you'll ask, but CM650W. So when you first turn it on, this is the screen that you get. It's just a notification that you need to not have your fingers anywhere near the cutting blade because it's going to move it. Okay, so this is our home screen here. You can see that it says pattern or scan. Now, because I am loading a pattern from my laptop that I've already designed, I'm gonna press pattern. But now if you wanted to scan something in, you could draw a design and use the scan feature, and then it will make it available for cutting. So that's a fun other aspect, but I'm not a pro in that, so might need to do some more research before I give anybody any advice on that one. But anyway, so we're getting our image from our laptop. So from our laptop to our scan and cut. And what I need to do now that my scan and cut is turned on is I need to come back over to the laptop and press this button or click this button over here, the scan and cut transfer. And that's going to tell my computer to go ahead and send the image to my scan and cut. So once it's ready to go, you're going to get this message that says the scan and cut transfer is ready. So now I'm going to go back over to the machine and I'm going to press pattern. And then in this top left corner over here, there is a button. The button has a cloud and a little scan and cut. It looks just like this image here. And so you're going to click that. And what that's going to do is it's pulling the image from the laptop over to your cutting machine. Oops. I'm going to move this out of the way so I can move this a little closer. So now you can see exactly what it looked like on my computer. It looks like here, this is just a little grid and this symbolizes the cutting mat. So it's a couple things that you need to check, and probably this would be better to do prior to loading, is I can tell off the bat that my cutting mat that's loaded into my machine, or the one that my machine is set on, is the 12 by 24. And I can tell because it has this down arrow, which is telling me that this mat is too big for the screen here. Don't get stuck on that detail, but all that to say that I need to go in and I need to reformat my cutting machine settings. I need it to show a 12 by 12 mat because that's what I have this image ready to be cut on. So I'm going to press the home button and it's going to ask if I want to delete the pattern that I just loaded in, and that's totally fine because it's already loaded into the machine, so you can recall it as soon as you're ready. But so you're going back to the home screen. I'm going to press the little tool here, bottom left button, and I'm going to go to this area that says cut area and press its button. So now you can see my machine had the 12 by 24 mat loaded. So on this left side, I'm just going to choose the 12 by 12 mat. You can see how it changes that image. Press OK and OK. And so now we're back to square one. We need to get the image from the laptop to the scan and cut. So I'm going to go back through the process, press pattern, and that little top left button, the transfer button. And now here is my moon phases on the 12 by 12 mat. I can tell that it's a 12 by 12 mat because I don't have the option to scroll down to see the rest of the mat. So once you're in here, you can also manipulate your image. If you want to move it around, resize it, change it, copy and paste it, you can do all of that by playing with these buttons over here on the left side. And just a quick tutorial, I don't mess with these very much. I generally get my image situated on my laptop before I ever transfer it. I do not find myself using these options very often, but I know that if the top left button, this one, when you click on it, there's a red box around the image, and that you can press on the arrows and it'll move your image around. Okay, I just got it centered back. But so you can move your image around here. You can also change the size by this button here, the far right button. You can change the size. You can see here it has the height and the width. You can change that by manipulating the arrows here. You can mirror it, you can turn it. You can do all sorts of things in this little menu, but again, I just like to make sure that it's ready to go as soon as I transfer it. I don't want to be repositioning. I don't want to do any of that on my machine because it's harder to tell. You have to use a stylus to manipulate. Usually it's just much easier to do it on your laptop, in my opinion. But okay, here we are. We've got our image loaded. We've got the correct mat size chosen. And so now you can choose whether you want the machine to draw the image on your textile or to cut it. A lot of times if I'm doing a test, before I ever cut into cork, I'll put in a piece of paper that is the same size as the piece of cork that I'm cutting and load it just as if it's cork. and then I press draw, and then I'll load in like the little markers that came with it, and I let it draw so I can get a visualization for how it's going to cut. And then I can take that piece of paper, and if something's wrong, then I go back to my laptop, manipulate the file, transfer it, and go from there. Because we've already done all that and we're situated, I'm gonna press cut. And then it gives you an estimate, a time estimate on how long it's gonna take to cut it. Mine says 1 minute. And so now I need to load up my mat. So getting back to these mats, obviously mine are very, very heavily used. You can see all the cork that I've drawn on it. You can see where the pressure was really deep because I've cut through the mat. I use tape on them sometimes to keep my cork in place. But usually what I like to do is use basting spray. And the reason I have to use basting spray is just because the tackiness is just almost gone from the years of use. So I just do a light spray of basting spray on the back side of my cork. And then I'm going to lay it where it needs to go in order for the image to be drawn or to be cut in the correct spot. And so once you get it loaded on your mat, you need to just gently line it up. And there are these notches over here on the right and left hand side. And so you just line it up in that groove, slide it up until you can't move it anymore. And then you're going to come back to your scan and cut button or menus up here, and I'm going to press this button, and it looks like a cutting mat. I'm going to press that. And what you heard was the machine just loading my mat. So now my mat is in there. I can't pull it out or mess with it. And it highlights the start stop button. So I'm going to go ahead and press that. And then the machine is going to start to cut. I like to just keep my fingers loosely on my cork just so if anything starts to go haywire, I can stop it and save the cork. So that way it's not totally lost and I can salvage as much of it as possible. Or if I need to, I can finish cutting the image by hand using an X-Acto knife. So once it's done, you have to click that button, the mat button again, and it'll unload and then pull it off. And that is how I get an image from the computer onto my cutting machine. All right, I hope that you guys enjoyed that quick tutorial. If you know of any other makers that utilize their scan and cuts for more stuff or different projects, tag them below. I would love to spend some time learning more about this machine and its capabilities. And in the meantime, I hope that you enjoyed this and keep your eyes peeled. I'll be putting out a reverse applique video soon. Just finishing up this project. Again, I have already put out some videos on that, but I figured I could go into just a little bit more in depth on my process and share that with y'all. So yeah, if there's anything else about scan and cut that you have questions about, let me know. And if I know the answers, I will certainly make a video or respond to your comment. Until next time.